Hey guys, I'm Brian from Macaulay's Design, and today we're going to kill some Powderpost beetles using Bora-Care. Let's figure it out. So I'm not totally sure if this is something that has to be done outside, but I'm going to do it outside because this is a chemical. It's made to kill insects and mostly Powderpost beetles, and I don't think I want to spray it in my shop. So what we have here is just a normal, you know, pump action spray canister. It's got 2-gallon capacity in it, and I have 1 gallon of Bora-Care here. And I'm going to mix this stuff 1 to 1. 1 gallon of Bora-Care with 1 gallon of water, and my water is hot. It was just boiling. It's obviously not anymore. And the reason for that is that this Bora-Care is really thick, and in order to be able to spray it out of my nozzle, I need to thin it out, and the hot water is supposed to be able to do that. So let's pour this stuff in there, and I'll show you how I mix it. So I'm just going to take this bottle of Bora-Care. It doesn't have a protective seal or anything on it, so be careful when you open it. And I'm just going to hopefully dump it in here without spilling any of it. I'll just sit it like this for a couple minutes and let those that last little bit drip out of there, because it is pretty thick stuff. And it's a beautiful fall day here today, so it's not exactly warm outside either. Alright, that'll probably do. Most of it's out of there anyways. So next we need to mix this stuff together and make that Bora-Care, incorporate it with the water and make it a lot thinner. I don't have a mixing paddle that will fit into here, so I just made one out of a hanger, a metal hanger, and I'm going to see how that works. I've got it attached to my drill. So I've been mixing this for about 2 minutes now, and it seems to be pretty well incorporated. Let's go ahead and throw the pump on and start spraying some wood. So this first piece that I'm going to treat is actually a tabletop that I'm making. It's some crotch slabs that I've glued together. But I want to show you what Powderpost beetle damage looks like once you start milling a board. Do you see all these lines of sawdust and holes? Those are the Powderpost beetle tracks that they've made in there. I'm going to seal that in with finish, but that's a lot of damage, and I don't actually know if there are beetles still in there or not. So I want to make sure if they are, they die and they don't come out. So let's spray this down. So all I'm going to do here is basically hose this board down on both sides and all of the edges. You want to cover the entire surface so everything is wet. Now I'm using a 1-to-1 ratio because I have evidence of an existing infestation, or a dormant infestation, or there's a sign that Powderpost beetles were here. There are other mixing ratios that you can use based on, whatever your particular need is. It doesn't have to be 1-to-1. It can be something less potent. But I'm going with 1-to-1 because I know for a fact that these boards have or had Powderpost beetles living in them. Alright, with that side and those edges treated, we'll flip it around and do the other side. I am wearing gloves because I'm going to be touching these boards and I'm going to be touching the chemical, and I don't want to get that on my hands. And now I'm just going to spray the backside the exact same way I did the front. There is an active infestation in here. This should soak into that wood and kill anything that's living in there. So back here behind my shop is where I store all my lumber. And, I just stack it and sticker it. And I'm going to treat this stuff as well. Let me show you how to do that. First thing we're going to do is, I've already unstacked all of it. And this is the bottom row of the stack. We're going to treat this, flip them over, treat the other side, and just start stacking our pile back up, treating each board as we go. And so here you can kind of get a good idea about how wet I'm getting this. I just want it to appear wet. That's all I'm trying to do. These are pretty thick boards as well. These are all 12/4, so that means they're 3 inches thick. That's another reason that I'm going with the higher concentration of Bora-Care to water, because I want to make sure that I get the potent stuff in there, because these boards are pretty thick. Alright, so with one face of these boards treated and one edge, I went ahead and got this edge and the end grain. I'm going to head and flip these boards over, get the remaining edge and the other face, and start stacking my pile. So while I'm doing this, I came across a really good sign of what powderpost beetle damage looks like on an unmilled board, a rough cut board, or at least signs of what it should look like. You'll see these little pinholes. They're about the size of a pencil lead, maybe a little bit bigger. They're very small, but if you find wood with these little holes in it, you can almost be guaranteed that there's some sort of wood-boring pest in there, probably a powderpost beetle. And just these 2 holes is enough to tell me that I don't want this board, because when I start milling it and flip it over, this is what you're going to find. It's going to be full of sawdust and a completely unusable board. So what I'm trying to do now is mitigate any further damage to the lumber that I have, and this board is probably no good. And with that, now I know that if there was an active infestation in this lumber, those bugs will die, they will not cause any more damage, and I'll be able to build some furniture out of this wood using those track marks that you saw earlier with the lines in the sawdust as sort of a feature, you know? So if you've got some lumber that you think might be infested with powderpost beetles, using the signs that I've showed you, by all means, you want to use something to mitigate that infestation, because it's just going to keep multiplying and they're going to lay eggs and babies will form and it'll just keep going. You want to kill them. And this is how you do it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you on the next video.